I'm Scott Floyd. I'm the District Instructional Technologist for White Oak ISD in White Oak, Texas. Mobile devices is actually becoming a very important part in Texas as funding decreases. Even our state education agency realizes the importance of students bringing their own devices to school to basically cover the funding gap that they failed to provide for us. So that's the only way the students are going to be able to have a one-to-one situation in most school districts in Texas. So now, as a technology department and a curriculum department, both, we have to adjust to that, and we're trying to stay ahead of the curve. Across the state of Texas, it's actually been pretty taboo for students to bring theirs in. You know, it's a pretty conservative part of the nation, and they have a strong belief on filtering everything and controlling a lot. And that's actually loosened over the past 3 or 4 years. Our district has been one of those out front, attempting to filter less, allow our students and our staff to monitor more, and then we just trust our students to do the right thing when they bring their devices to school and to access our network and the internet at the appropriate times of the school day, because learning takes place at any time. So we want to be able for them to have a device to pull that off. And other school districts in the state of Texas are starting to see the positives from that. I'm probably the first one in the district that did that about 6 or 7 years ago. I'm the director, I was the gifted and talented director for the middle school campus, and the students just didn't have the access to the equipment to do the research they needed for the projects that we were doing. We were doing performance-based, project-based learning, and that's how they were being assessed for the classroom. We were doing a pilot for the state at the same time. So for them to do a better than adequate job with their project, they needed that access. So the students would bring their own laptops. I had the first wireless cloud. My tech director that I have now, Michael Grass, installed a portable wireless cloud in my classroom as a pilot for the district, and the students would bring their laptops, leave them behind my desk during the day, because obviously the greatest fear with being the early ones bringing their devices, their at the time $800,000, $1,200 laptops, was the fear of theft. Right. And it made the principal feel better that the laptop was left in my control, if you will, in my classroom, so it stayed behind my desk until the class. So we started that. We didn't have any issues with it. We were very successful with it. The kids did a great job on their projects. And it kind of grew from there, because it became, if Scott can do that, then why can't I do that? And why can't my students do that? And then the parents would put the peer pressure on as well, saying, well, if they can do that in Mr. Floyd's class, why can't they do that in your class? And that's actually grown. That's been our biggest viral maneuver there, is the peer pressure from the teachers who see what their neighbors are doing and what the parents would see what their children do in some classes, but not in all. Right. The 3 things I would look at if you're trying to develop a bring your own device strategy in a school district: the technology department, number 1, needs to go meet with the curriculum director. Reinforce the fact that they're there for the students, which means they're there for the curriculum department, because that's what the curriculum department is. And they need to get that guidance and create a partnership there, so that way they're supporting each other. If they're not doing that, they're not working together, they're working against each other, and you're dooming yourself for failure. Number 2, you got to get the teacher input, because the first problem you're going to have right out of the box is a teacher who doesn't know how to manage that in the classroom, and that's going to be pretty widespread. And if you can't do that, then you're going to have teachers that choose to not let them use them. You can let them take the devices all you want. They're just going to tell them leave it in your backpack or leave it in your locker when you come in my room, because it's not going to be utilized. And then make sure that you share those same open door policies with the community, so that way the parents are aware that while they're at school, they're utilizing a network that uses the same filtering system that the school-provided devices use. Does that mean that a child who shows up with an iPhone, and yes, we have elementary students that do that on a regular basis, does that mean that we can guarantee they're using our network? No. But what we can guarantee is that the parent is paying for that child to have unlimited, unfiltered internet access. So they apparently are ready for some type of consequence if it arises. All we can do is the best we can from a monitoring, classroom management standpoint, and just keep reinforcing the fact that there are appropriate ways to utilize these devices and access that are out there. The digital divide issue is one my superintendent is always concerned with. We've talked about letting all the kids bring their devices and making a concerted effort to push that in the community to encourage it on a regular basis. And his concern is, well, what about the kids that have nothing? At this point, we have enough, I think, handheld devices, netbooks, iPod Touches, MacBooks, some iPads in place that we can cover most of the gaps that we have. There are more cheaper devices coming out that will still access the internet and do the things that the kids want to do, because we have so much web-based in our school district. We use Google Apps, we use WordPress blogs, and that's really where their focus is going to be, is accessing web content. So we could buy cheaper devices and provide that, and is it going to be as good as the kid whose parents can afford a MacBook Pro? It really depends on the project they're doing. If that's all they're doing is doing a Google Doc, absolutely. You know, there's not a whole lot of benefit there. There maybe takes them a little longer to type it. So it's going to be a bigger issue, I think, the more rural you get. And that's really, to me, that's our biggest problem, is we have a huge divide in the rural areas because they don't have the high-speed access that the suburban and the urban districts have. And there's no interest in running fiber out there to get them that high-speed access, or to put in more cell towers, because of the fewer number of students that live out there. There's a high cost for that. So those people, those companies, don't see a good return on investment for it. In White Oak ISD, one thing you're going to notice is something that really ticks off a lot of tech directors, and that's that we align everything in the technology department under the curriculum and instruction umbrella. And that includes the tech director who handles the network, the technician who goes out and does our repairs. Everything aligns under there, and we meet weekly with our curriculum director to make sure that everything we're doing aligns with her ideas, and that her future ideas that we're prepared for and we're capable of helping her pull those off. So our acceptable use policies that we have in place, and we only have one. We're not a district that says, okay, now we have Facebook out there and we need to create a policy for that. We have a very broad, do the right thing type of policy. We list the fact that we know you're going to have access to these tools both in hardware form and software form, and we know that you're going to be using them in the classroom, and we know you're going to have access to them outside of the classroom but still on school grounds. And the goal is that you use them in an appropriate fashion. And we don't get a whole lot of detail into that, because it really starts to pigeonhole what you can and can't do if you do have a problem, because it's too easy for somebody who's looking to create trouble saying, you didn't mention that in the AUP, so why are you getting on to me? So if you have a more general statement, our attorney actually is a lot more comfortable with that, because as he says, you know, it gives you a lot broader spectrum to be able to handle issues when they come up.